Today's episode is proudly sponsored by the English Learning for Curious Minds podcast. I'm so happy to be working with English Learning for Curious Minds again. The podcast is an amazing resource for English learners, has interesting and unique topics, and I'm certain most Thinking in English listeners would enjoy English Learning for Curious Minds too. Last week, they released a fascinating episode on New York's infamous criminal families, the Italian-American criminal underworld, which came to dominate industry and politics in the city. I really recommend you listen to it. I found it fascinating. English Learning for Curious Minds is available on all podcasting apps with unique and interactive transcripts and vocabulary lists available as well. Go and check it out. Click the link in the description. Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson and welcome to the Thinking in English podcast, a podcast for intermediate to advanced level English learners. Do you struggle to speak confidently in English? In this episode, I'll explore practical tips and strategies to help you build your confidence and improve your speaking skills in English, so you can communicate with ease and confidence. You can find the full transcript for today's episode for free over on the Thinking in English blog, the link's in the description. Follow me on YouTube and Instagram, both Thinking in English podcast. Join my Patreon and conversation clubs to practice your English. Leave a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. And here is today's episode. Speaking in a foreign language is an intimidating and challenging task. We all know this. I can't begin to describe the number of times I've been speaking or trying to speak Japanese in front of people and began to panic. I realized that I don't know how to finish my sentence. My brain starts racing, searching for any vocabulary I know. And many times I've ended up stuttering, misspeaking, or using weird or unnatural expressions. Why? Why is speaking in a foreign language so challenging? Well, the fear of making mistakes, being misunderstood, or not being able to express yourself effectively can cause anxiety and self-doubt. These anxieties come from a lack of confidence in your abilities, a fear of other people judging you, or simply a lack of exposure to English. Language barriers, such as differences in pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar, can also lead to a lack of confidence when you're speaking English. The difficulty of understanding and producing the sounds and structures of your new language can make you feel self-conscious and unsure. And cultural differences can make it challenging to navigate social situations and use appropriate language and etiquette in conversations. Furthermore, the fear of making mistakes can be a significant source of anxiety. The fear of being judged or ridiculed for grammatical errors, pronunciation mistakes, or word choice can cause us all to hesitate and second-guess ourselves when speaking, hindering our ability to communicate effectively. Ultimately, building confidence in speaking English or any foreign language requires you to overcome these anxieties and language barriers. So, considering this, I will try to discuss a few practical strategies for building confidence in speaking English. By setting realistic goals, regularly practicing, and exposing yourself to the language, improving pronunciation and intonation, embracing mistakes, and building vocabulary, you can become more confident and effective communicators. These strategies can help you overcome anxiety and self-doubt, and ultimately lead to greater fluency and proficiency when speaking any foreign language. Setting realistic goals. Setting goals is a crucial part of language learning and can be particularly helpful in building confidence in speaking. By setting achievable goals, you can focus your efforts and track your progress, which will boost motivation and provide a sense of accomplishment. I've talked about setting realistic goals before, especially in the episode on New Year's resolutions, but let me give you a short recap. When you set goals, be realistic and specific. Rather than setting a vague goal like improve my speaking skills, set a more concrete goal, like have a 10-minute conversation in English without feeling nervous. By breaking down larger goals into smaller, more manageable ones, you can set yourself up for success. Celebrate your small successes along the way. Recognizing progress, no matter how small, can help build your confidence and motivation. I like to reward myself for achieving a goal by treating myself to one of my favorite foods, usually fried chicken from the Japanese convenience store. Regular practice and exposure. Regular practice and exposure are probably the most important strategies for building confidence when speaking English. The more you practice, the more comfortable and familiar you will become with the language. It's simple. More practice, more confidence. This is actually the purpose and idea behind my conversation clubs, Patreon, and my Discord server. We challenge Thinking in English listeners to speak in English about new topics every week, sometimes multiple times a week, with new people from around the world. And for the people who regularly attend, the developments in confidence are clear and sometimes remarkable. Practicing speaking with others is crucial for building confidence, and there are many ways to do this. In my own language learning journey, I have used language exchange apps, attended in-person language exchanges, joined conversation classes, and spent hours in a cafe and bar in Tokyo speaking only in Japanese. For you guys, language exchange partners or conversation groups can provide a supportive environment to practice speaking without fear of judgment or negativity. Through regular practice and exposure, you can gradually become more comfortable and confident in your speaking abilities. And this is why you should all join my Patreon and attend conversation clubs and the many other events every week. Also, try to seek out opportunities to use English in real-world settings. These experiences can be nerve-wracking at first, but they can also provide a sense of accomplishment and boost confidence. I've been staying with my partner's family recently, none of whom speak any English, which has both been challenging and incredibly rewarding in terms of my own language confidence. Pronunciation and intonation. Effective communication in English involves not only using the correct words and grammar, but also using proper pronunciation and intonation. Mispronouncing words or using incorrect intonation can not only affect the clarity of your message, but also impact your confidence. I've made a whole episode on improving pronunciation and intonation only a few months ago. I recommend you all listen to it, of course. In that episode, I mentioned that there are many different ways of practicing pronunciation. Listening carefully to native speakers, practicing difficult sounds in isolation, recording and analysing yourselves, online resources, and much more. Perhaps the most important thing is immediate feedback. Getting corrections and feedback on whether you're understood, correct, or incorrect. Whether the feedback is from yourself after listening to recordings, an AI computer program, or an English teacher, getting feedback on what you are doing wrong is really important. The value of making mistakes and learning from them. One common reason why language learners lack confidence in speaking a foreign language is the fear of making mistakes. Back when I was teaching in Japanese schools, I was always frustrated how so few of the students would be brave enough to answer questions and speak in front of their classmates. Making mistakes is a natural part of the language learning process and can actually be a valuable opportunity for growth and improvement. Making mistakes helps you to identify areas for improvement. You can take steps to correct your mistakes and prevent them from happening in the future. This is a feedback loop and can lead to greater fluency and confidence over time. Mistakes can also lead to a growth mindset. A growth mindset emphasizes the importance of effort and perseverance over ability or talent. If you embrace a growth mindset, mistakes should be viewed as opportunities for growth and improvement, rather than indicators of failure or inadequacy. Personally, I actually find mistakes give me a sense of relief and reduce anxiety in speaking situations. Once I accepted the fact that I make mistakes in my Japanese and that they are just a natural thing, I began to feel more comfortable taking risks and more open to trying out new language without fear. I've also found that native speakers of a language often appreciate when we attempt to speak, even if our grammar or pronunciation are not perfect. Making mistakes is a sign of effort and commitment, and I've discovered that making mistakes while speaking is so much more enjoyable than being silent and never trying to have a conversation. I have so many friends who I only speak to in Japanese, and I wouldn't have made them if I was such a perfectionist and fearful of mistakes. Building vocabulary and grammar. Another important step in building confidence while speaking is building your vocabulary and grammar. Without a solid understanding of these, you will probably struggle to express yourself clearly and confidently. This is by far my biggest weakness in speaking. How can you improve your vocabulary? There are so many methods. Some people focus on the most common words and phrases used in English. Some use flashcards, vocabulary lists, or online tools to practice and memorize words. You could also practice using context clues to infer meanings of unfamiliar words and focus on words that are most relevant to you. In terms of grammar, it's important to understand the basic rules and structures of English. Practice the most important verb tenses and sentence structures. Online resources, textbooks, and language exchange partners can all be helpful for improving these skills. Most importantly, you need to practice using new vocabulary and grammar structures in context. There is no point learning every word in the English language if you can't use them in actual sentences. Try speaking or writing about topics and engaging in conversation with others. Use new vocabulary and grammar in real-world situations, and you will quickly become more comfortable and confident. English learning is a process. Building a strong foundation in vocabulary and grammar takes time and effort. You should aim for progress, not perfection, and be patient. I want to finish this episode by briefly talking about mindset. I think when it comes to speaking and confidence, mindset is perhaps the most important factor. My Japanese, my foreign language, is not particularly good. Most of you listening are probably better at English than I am at Japanese. But I am confident, curious, and inquisitive. I like talking. I guess that's why I'm a podcaster, trying to make a podcast business. And when I'm in Japan, this means I like to talk in Japanese. I will talk to people in cafes and bars, friends and family of my partner, and even people who stop me in the street. And I love to talk at every opportunity. I don't think about making mistakes. I don't worry about my vocabulary or grammar. I just like speaking. And I like talking to other people. I want to ask questions, learn about the people I'm talking with, and express myself. The mindset that you bring to learning will have an impact on your confidence. One mindset that can support confident speaking is a growth mindset. This is the belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Learners with a growth mindset view challenges as opportunities for growth and improvement, and are less likely to be discouraged by setbacks or mistakes. In contrast, a fixed mindset can harm your confidence. A fixed mindset involves the belief that your abilities are natural and cannot be changed. Learners with a fixed mindset may view mistakes or challenges as evidence of their limits and natural weaknesses, which can lead to feelings of discouragement and a lack of confidence. Another mindset that can impact confidence in speaking English is the idea of a learner identity. A learner identity is the way that a learner views themselves in relation to their language learning journey. If you view yourself as someone who is actively engaged in the process of learning, you may feel more confident and motivated to speak English, even if you are not proficient or high level. But if you view yourself as someone who is not good at learning languages, you may feel more discouraged and less confident. It's also important to note that learning can be influenced by external factors, such as societal attitudes towards language learning or English. For example, if you are frequently told that your accent is difficult to understand, you may feel self-conscious. And when I was teaching in schools, I was often annoyed or frustrated by my colleague who would tell all of the students that English was a difficult language. This only reinforced that it would be difficult to learn English. It had no use to the students, just gave them a bad mindset. In summary, your mindset can play a significant role in your English speaking confidence. By embracing a growth mindset and viewing yourself as an active learner, you should feel more confident and more motivated to continue developing your language skills. So here is today's final thought. Speaking confidently in English can be a challenge, but it is a skill that can be developed with practice and the right mindset. By embracing a growth mindset, learning from mistakes, and building a learner identity, you can improve your confidence in speaking any foreign language, especially English. Remember, confidence comes from within, and with dedication and hard work, anyone can become a confident and proficient speaker. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace challenges and keep practicing. With time and effort, you will achieve your language goals and become the confident and fluent speaker you aspire to be. If you are a confident English learner, a confident English speaker now, how did you become a confident English speaker? Or what is your plan? How will you become one? Let me know by leaving a comment on the Thinking in English blog, on the transcript, the link is in the description. Leave a comment on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify, or send me a message on Instagram. We love to hear from all of you wherever you contact me, so please contact me. Leave a rating on Spotify, leave a 5-star rating, and we've just over 6,000 ratings at the moment. Let's see if we can get to 7 in the next few months. That would be awesome. You can join my conversation club and my Patreon to both support the podcast, but more importantly, improve your own English. We've got conversation clubs every week, so click the link in the description and join those. If you haven't already, check out my YouTube channel and my Instagram pages, doing lots of new content on Instagram, including new vocabulary posts about these episodes. So if you want to see the vocabulary as well as listen to it, you can. There'll be new vocabulary or information posts on Instagram. This episode doesn't have vocabulary, so instead I think it will be the different approaches to becoming more confident, which you'll be able to see on Instagram. So go and check that out and follow me. But thank you all so much for listening today. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.